Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm Nathan from the eBook Reader blog. For this video, I'm going to do a comparison review between the Kobo Clara Color and the Kobo Libra Color. So there's a lot of overlapping features between these two devices. Thought I'd do a comparison review between the two, see if you want to go with the larger screen or the smaller screen. There are some differences hardware-wise as well and features-wise, so we'll go into that. So the Kobo Clara Color has a 6-inch screen. The Libra Color has a 7-inch screen. They both have the same Kaleido screen, which is 300 ppi for black and white content, 150 ppi for color. They have a very similar design. As you can see here, the backs are basically the same kind of texture on them. Both have the power button on the back. Both have USB-C ports. They're both waterproof. Now, one thing I noticed right off is the Clara has the screen, it's more recessed. It's got a deeper recess to it. And it also has a texture on the plastic here. So like the Libra, it just has that smooth plastic like previous Kobos, but with the new Clara Color and the Clara Black and White, they added this texture that I actually really like. I'm kind of surprised they didn't add that to the Libra as well. It's kind of strange that they didn't. One thing I noticed straight away when comparing these two particular comics is the text balloons. The text looks darker and bolder on the Libra 2 screen for some reason. I mean, they have the same screen, should be the same. Colors are also slightly different in some instances, so I don't really understand that. They should be the same, but you know, I mean, we'll compare some other comics later, take a look at those as well, see if it stands up with those. But as far as performance goes, they both got dual core processors. I mean, I don't notice any performance difference at all when navigating these two devices. Page turns are the same, navigating the interface is the same. You can like scroll into the pages and scroll around the different parts of the page, and performance seems the same regardless of which model you're using, so not much of a difference there. So the Libra 2 does have 32 gigabytes of storage, and the Clara has 16 gigabytes, so you have different storage capacity. As far as the home screen and the library goes, there is no difference as far as the screen size is concerned. I mean, you don't get any extra books appearing on the larger screen. They just scale to the different size, so no difference with that as far as layout goes. So one big difference with the Libra is it supports a stylus. So you can use the notebook. So it has the full-fledged notebook app that's on the more expensive Kobo Ellipsa and then the Kobo Sage. So you've got the different pen types, bunch of different color types, different pen thicknesses. So you got the full-fledged note app on the Libra 2, but that's only going to show up if you have a stylus. If you don't have a stylus, then that tab isn't going to show up on the bottom of the screen. It'll be accessible from settings. If you have a different Kobo device, it'll say read only. But until you have a stylus, then it's not going to work. And the stylus doesn't work at all on the Kobo Libra screen or the Kobo Clara screen. So for the most part, Kobo's devices all have the same kind of software features, but there are a few exceptions, like the Libra 2 adds Google Drive and Dropbox support, so you can transfer files wirelessly. The Clara doesn't have that, but there is a hack to add Dropbox. I'm not sure about Google. So here's the sketchpad on the Clara. So it doesn't work with the stylus, but you can use your finger to take basic notes with this. It's not like, particularly accurate or easy to use, but I mean, it is an option. And then when you save that, it'll get added to your library. So if you go back to the home screen here or the library view, it'll show your sketch pads on there. So if you just needed to write some like a reminder or some notes to yourself, that is an option on the Clara, though the obviously the Libra has the more advanced note-taking app, so it doesn't have that. So let's open up another comic, compare the screen size difference and just sort of like the color difference and the text difference. As you can see here again, colors are slightly different. If you look like these panels back and forth, like the desk, it's a little bit more browner on the Clara's or the Kobo Libra screen. It's strange. Another thing with the Kobo Libra, it has the auto rotation sensor, so you can rotate to landscape mode. So the Clara models don't actually have landscape mode for ebooks. They do have it for certain types of content like comics, so you have to rotate it manually. You can select fit to width and then go over to landscape mode. So you can view your comics in landscape mode if you'd like, and get the, scale them up, get the text balloons a little bit easier to read here. Try to find a way to situate this for the camera so you can see both screens at the same time. But yeah, again, there is some difference as far as the color and the text balloons go. It's kind of strange, but you can scroll up and down as long as you're zoomed in. So like I set the scaling to fit to width on the Clara, so you have to zoom in a little bit on the Libra if you want to be able to scroll around different parts of the screen in landscape mode. Otherwise it'll just bring up the menu and stuff. So yeah, again, not a huge difference between 6 and 7-inch screens as far as comics go. But yeah, it just sort of depends on the layout of your comics, how much white space how much borders there are around the screen. But you could do the landscape mode on the Clara. Here's how it looks compared to the regular view on the Libra. So yeah, obviously scales up a little bit larger, but you only get like a third of the screen at one time. So here's something different with the Libra is some comics it'll display 2-page view when you're in landscape mode. So you can view like, it's a traditional comic with 2 pages at once. So that might be a benefit or a detriment depending on how, easily readable the text balloons are. But I can't find a setting to change that. So yeah, you got to view 2 pages if you're using landscape mode with this particular comic. I mean, you can scroll in manually, but then once you turn the pages, it's just gonna, it's still in 2-page mode and it doesn't follow the columns like some devices will. Here's a look at 2-page landscape mode versus 1 page on the Clara. So yeah, even on the 6-inch screen, still quite a bit larger than viewing 2 pages at once on the Libra screen in landscape mode. But you got some different options with that. So let's go ahead and load up a regular ebook now. So I did forget to match the boldness settings and the font sizes right here. So everything's a little bit bigger. It looks a little bit bolder on the Libra screen. I mean, there is maybe a little bit of difference, but the camera's exaggerating it. In person, I don't notice as much of a difference when you're looking at regular text as when we were looking at those text balloons, like in the first comic, which was obviously darker and bolder on the Libra screen. As far as front lights go, they're very comparable as far as like the color and just the overall brightness. Maybe the Clara screen's just a touch brighter. I'd say that the Libra screen is a little bit more even overall. There's a little bit of bright spots in the lower corners of the Clara screen, but it's pretty subtle. And front lights, they can vary from one to the next. So it's, you can't really put a whole lot of stock in something like this because front lights are so weird. E-ink screens in general are weird and they look different in different circumstances. But as far as the front lights go, I mean, they're very comparable between these two particular units. They both have the Comfort Light Pro, as Kobo will call it, and you can have it set to automatically adjust the screen color as the day goes on, so it'll get a little bit oranger gradually as the day goes on. They don't have the front light sensors as some models do. It'll just do that based on the time of day. So then another difference with the Libra, since it has stylus support, you can write directly on ebooks. So obviously not an option with the Clara models, but yeah, you have the option to write directly on ebooks. You have some different colors, different line thicknesses. You can also use the stylus on the Libra. In addition to writing, you can use it to add highlights. So if you just hold like the button down, it'll automatically do the highlights. Where on the Clara, you just have to use your finger. And of course you could add highlights using your finger on the Libra as well. So another thing, they both have dark mode. I mean, they have all the same software features really, except for like the Dropbox and the notebooks and stuff like that. But you also have the button setting here on the Libra. You can invert the buttons or just go with the default. So yeah, you got the dark mode on both of these. And it does look pretty good. I mean, you don't notice that grid layer that I was talking about in the main review for the Libra, the color filter layer. You don't really notice it at all when it's in dark mode like that. The text looks nice and white. The background's nice and dark. So that's another reading option for, some folks really like reading with the inverted mode. So as I mentioned in the main review, the color e-ink screens, they do have a darker appearance than regular e-ink screens because of that filter layer. So here's just kind of a look at with a no front light versus having the front light on. So yeah, having the front light cranked up more is sort of a thing with color ink screens. You do tend to have it a little bit higher. I kind of like mixing a little bit of the orange light in, just a little bit. It kind of gives it more of a paper-like appearance, like in regular lighting. I don't know. It's just sort of a personal preference thing. It's kind of cool that you can mess with them. So here's just a quick look at like the cookbook I was showing earlier with the main review, just to show like how the different scales with the different screens. I don't have the text matched again, but you can kind of get an idea here. I mean, there's not a big difference between 6 and 7-inch screens as far as, most content goes. It just sort of comes down to personal preference. I still think like a lot of color content is probably going to be, better suited to even a larger screen than the 7-inch. But it is nice to see Kobo offering 2 different sizes with their color e-ink screens. Like the Clara, it cost $150. It's by far the cheapest color e-reader on the market. The Libra is $220. So, I mean, it just kind of comes down to if you want the stylus, do you want the page buttons. Not a whole lot of difference otherwise. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this review. Check out the ebook reader blog for more details.